In the distant reaches of the universe, where vast deserts stretched under twin suns, Cade Renard worked tirelessly. The human man, rugged from years of hardship and war, now found himself on the barren, unforgiving planet of Irida 7, serving out the remainder of his days as a nomadic engineer. His job was simple: repair the broken machines that passed through the outpost, maintain the equipment for scavengers, and survive the desert's blistering heat. One day, as he toiled under the scorching suns, he received an unexpected transmission from the Galactic Federation. A shuttle hovered over the horizon, kicking up sand as it descended into the dusty clearing. When Cade approached the ship, two armored figures emerged, their dark silhouettes barely visible against the gleaming ship's hull. Behind them walked something far more striking. A female figure, tall and regal, her silvery blue skin marked with intricate glowing tattoos, her large violet eyes scanning the barren landscape with calm indifference. "Cade Renard," one of the soldiers asked, stepping forward. "That's me," Cade replied, his voice gruff and skeptical. "We're delivering your assignment," the soldier said, nodding toward the alien girl, who stood silently, her long silver hair flowing like a waterfall of stars. "This is Liara, of the Scifi race. She's been exiled by her people for disobedience and has been sentenced to servitude by the Federation as part of a rehabilitation program." Cade blinked in disbelief. "What? I didn't sign up for this." The soldier didn't seem to care. "She's yours now. The Scifi don't take exile lightly. You're responsible for her." Liara, standing tall and defiant, made no motion to bow or show submission, despite her sentence. Cade could see the fire in her eyes, a burning pride she wasn't ready to extinguish. As the soldiers left, Cade was left alone with the alien woman, the wind howling softly over the desolate plains of Irida 7. "I'm not your master," Cade said firmly, breaking the silence. "I didn't ask for this." Liara's gaze shifted to him. "I am not a slave. I am a warrior. But my people, they have cast me out." Her voice was soft yet powerful, and something in her tone told Cade that whatever she had done, she didn't regret it. She had defied something much larger than herself, something she refused to yield to. "Look," Cade said, scratching the back of his neck awkwardly. "I'm just a mechanic out here. I don't need a slave, warrior, or whatever. You can stay if you want, but you're not bound to me." Liara regarded him with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. "You would let me go? Even though the Federation gave me to you?" Cade shrugged. "I don't need anyone shackled to me. If you want to leave, go ahead. But the desert's harsh, and there's no way off this rock unless you've got a ship." Liara's violet eyes softened slightly, though the proud set of her shoulders didn't waver. "Then I will stay. For now." Over the weeks that followed, Cade and Liara coexisted in the remote settlement. Cade was used to the solitude, but Liara's presence changed something. She was not the submissive creature the Federation intended her to be. Instead, she worked alongside him, fixing machines with a fierce efficiency and proving her knowledge of advanced technology, far beyond anything Cade had seen. Despite her pride, Liara began to open up about her past. She told him of the Scifi, a warrior race with strict codes of honor and obedience. She had been a high-ranking officer in their military, but when ordered to commit an atrocity in the name of tradition, she refused. It was this act of rebellion that had led to her exile. "I would rather be cast out than follow an order that would stain my soul," she explained one night as they sat around a fire outside Cade's shelter. Cade, listening intently, nodded. "I get it. I was a soldier once too. Fought in some of the worst conflicts out there. Sometimes, it's hard to live with what they ask of you." Their conversations became more frequent, the tension between them easing with each shared story. Liara, for all her alien heritage, began to feel less like an outsider and more like a companion, someone who understood the weight of the burdens Cade carried. In return, Cade taught Liara about the simpler life he had carved out for himself. Together, they repaired scavenger ships, and Cade found himself relying on her not just for her skills, but for her calm presence. But underneath it all, the Federation's decree lingered, a reminder that Liara was not truly free. Life on Irida 7 was harsh, and danger lurked in more than just the desert storms. Raiders often roamed the wastelands, scavenging whatever they could from the outposts. Cade had survived their attacks before, but they became more frequent as the months passed. One night, a group of raiders ambushed Cade's shelter, guns blazing. Cade and Liara fought back, their movements coordinated like seasoned soldiers. But as the raiders grew more aggressive, it became clear that they were after something more than just supplies. "You can't have her," one of the raiders snarled, pointing his gun at Liara. "The Scifi exile, she's worth a fortune on the black market." Liara's eyes narrowed, glowing in the dark like twin stars. In a blur of movement, she disarmed the raider, tossing him to the ground with the ease of a seasoned warrior. As the raiders fled, Cade stood beside Liara, both of them breathing heavily from the battle. He realized then how much he had come to depend on her, not just as an ally, but as something more. "They'll come back," Cade said grimly, wiping blood from a cut on his brow. "They want you." Liara stood tall, unflinching. "Let them come. I will not be taken." After the raid, Cade and Liara became closer, their relationship shifting from one of mutual respect to something deeper. Cade found himself drawn to her strength, her honor, and her unwavering sense of self. Liara, in turn, saw in Cade a man who had been through his own struggles, a man who, like her, carried the weight of defiance. One night, after repairing a broken-down freighter, Cade finally voiced what had been on his mind for weeks. "You know, you don't have to stay here. You're not bound to me, Liara. You could leave if you wanted." Liara, standing under the twin moons of Irida 7, turned to him. "I could leave. But I don't want to. I choose to stay. With you." Cade's heart raced. He had never expected this, never expected to feel anything for an alien woman who had been sent to him as punishment. But as he looked at her, standing proud and unbroken, he realized that it wasn't just companionship he felt. It was love. Months turned into years, and what had begun as a strange, forced partnership had blossomed into something far more profound. Cade and Liara were inseparable, their bond forged not by the Federation's decree, but by their shared experiences, their battles, and the quiet moments in between. One evening, under the stars of Irida 7, Cade took Liara's hand in his. "I've been thinking. I don't want to just survive out here anymore. I want more. With you." Liara's violet eyes glowed softly, her expression tender. "You wish to bond with me? By Scifi law, that is a sacred union." Cade smiled. "I don't know much about Scifi law. But I do know I want to spend my life with you." Liara's lips curved into a rare smile. "Then we will make our own law." And so, in the heart of the desert, amidst the stars and the endless sands, Cade and Liara were married. They were no longer bound by the laws of the Federation or the Scifi. They were free, united by choice and by love. Together, they faced the challenges of the galaxy, exploring the unknown, protecting each other from the dangers that lurked in the shadows, and building a future neither of them had ever imagined. In the vastness of the universe, they had found something rare and precious. They had found each other. Years had passed since Cade and Liara forged their union under the twin moons of Irida 7. Their days of quiet solitude on the desolate planet had faded into memory, replaced by new adventures as they took to the stars together. Word of their combined skills, Cade's mechanical genius and Liara's warrior prowess, had spread across the galaxy, and now, their services were in high demand. They weren't just survivors anymore, they had become sought-after adventurers, often called upon to solve impossible problems in the galaxy's most remote corners. One evening, aboard their ship, the Starseeker, Liara stood at the viewport, gazing into the infinite expanse. The void of space no longer felt as lonely as it once had. Beside her, Cade approached, his rough hands resting gently on her shoulders. "Where next, Captain?" Cade asked with a teasing smile. Liara's violet eyes sparkled with amusement. Though they often joked about rank, they both knew they led as equals. "There's a signal coming from the nebula rim. It looks like a distress call. Cade sighed and leaned against the wall, arms crossed. It's never easy, is it? Can't we just find a quiet planet and retire for a month or two? No raiders, no ancient alien tech trying to kill us? Liara smiled, her gaze softening as she glanced at him. Would you really be content sitting still? Cade chuckled. I suppose not. Trouble always finds us anyway. Liara turned back to the console, her fingers dancing across the controls. We'll follow the signal. If someone's in danger, we help. It's what we do. With a nod, Cade settled into the co-pilot's chair, flipping a few switches as the ship shifted course. All right, then. Off to the nebula rim. As the Starseeker shot through hyperspace, leaving behind streaks of light and stars, neither Cade nor Liara could have anticipated the challenges that awaited them on this new journey. The distress call was only the beginning. When they reached the nebula rim, the Starseeker dropped out of hyperspace and into a turbulent storm of electromagnetic energy. Swirling clouds of cosmic dust illuminated by flashes of lightning made visibility almost impossible. The distress beacon flickered faintly on their radar, buried deep within the nebula's chaotic depths. Cade frowned as he studied the ship's readings. This place is a mess. I'm surprised anyone survived out here long enough to send a signal. Liara's fingers tensed slightly as she piloted the ship through the storm, her keen instincts guiding them. The nebula's energy is making it difficult to get a lock on the signal's origin. But whoever sent it must have had advanced technology to transmit through this interference. After a tense hour of navigating through the nebula, the Starseeker finally emerged into a clearing. Before them loomed a massive derelict starship, its hull battered and scorched from countless battles. The ship, once grand and formidable, now drifted aimlessly, a ghost in the depths of space. Cade leaned forward, his brow furrowing. That's Scifi tech. I recognize those markings. Liara's eyes darkened, memories flooding back of her people and the life she had left behind. The Scifi starships were legendary for their advanced design, but this one seemed ancient, older than any she had encountered before. It's a relic, Liara whispered. From before my time. Before the war that fractured my people. They docked carefully, the sound of the ship's hull creaking as they attached to the derelict vessel. As they donned their suits and prepared to board, Cade shot Liara a concerned glance. You all right? He asked, knowing full well the weight of facing her past. I am, she replied with determination. But I feel something familiar. Together, they entered the ancient Scifi ship. The corridors were dark, the air thick with dust and the scent of time long past. But what unnerved Cade the most wasn't the emptiness, it was the distinct feeling that they were being watched. As they ventured deeper, the lights of their helmets flickering off rusted walls, they came across the remnants of the crew, skeletons of Scifi warriors, still clad in their battle armor. But there was no sign of what had killed them. Liara paused, her hand resting on a door marked with ancient symbols she recognized all too well. This was a command ship, she murmured. A Scifi warship. Cade stepped closer, studying the symbols alongside her. Looks like it's been here for centuries. But if it's so old, who sent the distress call? As if in answer, the door creaked open with a metallic groan. Inside was a massive chamber, lined with strange machinery and holographic screens. In the center stood a stasis pod, its glass cracked but still glowing with a faint, pulsing light. Cade's heart raced. Is that a Scifi? Liara finished, stepping forward to examine the pod. Inside, suspended in stasis, was a Scifi woman, her tattoos marking her as a high-ranking officer, much like Liara once was. But there was something different about her, an ancient energy, a power that seemed to hum from the machinery keeping her suspended. Before they could react, the chamber lit up, and a deep, mechanical voice echoed through the ship. Unauthorized entry detected. Stasis protocol initiated. The machinery in the room came to life, and the pod began to glow brighter. Cade drew his weapon, but Liara held up her hand. Wait, she said, her eyes wide. I know her. This is Valus, a commander from the old days. She led the Scifi fleets into battle before I was even born. Cade looked at the pod, then back at Liara. What's she doing in stasis? And why send a distress call now? Liara didn't have time to answer. The stasis pod hissed open, and the figure within stirred, her violet eyes opening to the world once more. Valus, the ancient commander, stepped out of the pod with an otherworldly grace. Her eyes, glowing brighter than Liara's, scanned the room as if searching for the battlefield she had once commanded. Liara knelt, a sign of respect for a warrior of Valus' stature. But the old commander seemed disoriented, as if she had woken from a long nightmare. Who are you? Valus' voice was steady but cold, her gaze falling on Cade before settling on Liara. A Scifi who travels with a human. What madness is this? Liara stood, her posture strong. I am Liara, once of the Scifi, exiled for defying our war council. And this man is Cade Renard, my partner and equal. Valus looked between them, her expression hardening. The Scifi War Council would not exile one of our own without cause. What did you defy? I refused to carry out a massacre in the name of a war that had already destroyed too many lives, Liara said, her voice unwavering. Valus frowned, but before she could respond, the ship shuddered violently. An alarm blared through the speakers, and the mechanical voice returned, cold and ominous. Containment breach imminent. Emergency lockdown engaged. Cade whipped around. What the hell is happening? Valus' face grew dark. This ship was not merely a warship. It was a prison. A prison for something we could not destroy. As the ground beneath them rumbled, the ship's ancient systems struggled to hold back whatever had been kept locked away for centuries. Valus turned to Liara, her voice sharp with command. The trio sprinted through the crumbling corridors of the ship, dodging debris as the vessel's integrity began to fail. But as they reached the docking bay, a deep, guttural roar echoed through the ship, sending chills down Cade's spine. Valus' face was grim. It's awake. Cade glanced at Liara, his grip tightening on his weapon. What's awake? An ancient enemy of the Scifi, Valus replied, her voice filled with urgency. A creature born from the chaos of the stars, a being of pure destruction. We sealed it here millennia ago, hoping it would never awaken. Liara's eyes narrowed. And now it's free. Back aboard the Starseeker, they barely had time to breathe before the ancient warship behind them exploded into a fiery blaze, unleashing the creature that had been trapped within. Its form, dark and twisted, loomed large against the backdrop of space, its very presence distorting reality around it. Cade and Liara manned the ship's controls, while Valus stood at the ready, her old battle instincts kicking in. We can't outrun it, Cade said, his voice tight. We have to fight. Liara's hand rested on his shoulder. Then we fight together. With the ancient Scifi commander by their side, they faced the unknown once more. United by love, duty, and the unbreakable bond they had forged, Cade and Liara prepared to confront the darkness, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together. The creature from the Scifi ship loomed in the distance, its form a writhing mass of shadow and energy, pulsing with chaotic power. As it floated in the vacuum of space, tendrils of dark energy extended from its body, bending light and matter around it, warping the very fabric of reality. Valus stared at the monstrosity with a hardened expression. This is no ordinary creature. It is a celestial wraith, born from the collapse of stars. It feeds on energy, on life itself. We failed to kill it eons ago, and now, we may not have the strength to defeat it. Cade's eyes darted to Liara, his heart pounding. There has to be a way. The Scifi built that ship to contain it, right? There must be something we can use against it. Valus shook her head, her voice grim. The technology we used back then is lost. The Wraith can't be destroyed by conventional means. The Starseeker shook violently as the Wraith's tendrils reached out, latching onto the ship's shields. Cade frantically punched commands into the console, trying to stabilize the ship, but the Wraith's power was overwhelming. The ship's systems were draining rapidly, and the shields were failing. Liara turned to Valus, her violet eyes blazing with determination. There must be something in your memories, something the Scifi I knew. Anything we can use to weaken it. Valus remained silent for a moment, her eyes closed as she searched the ancient memories of her people. Then, suddenly, her eyes shot open. There is one way. But it requires a great sacrifice. Cade frowned. What kind of sacrifice? Valus stepped forward, her face calm yet resolute. The Wraith feeds on energy, but it can also be overwhelmed by it. A concentrated burst of energy from a living source could destabilize it long enough to destroy it. But the cost would be fatal for whoever provides that energy. Liara's heart sank. She knew what Valus was suggesting. No, Cade said, his voice firm. There has to be another way. We're not sacrificing anyone. Valus glanced at Liara, a silent understanding passing between them. The Wraith is too powerful. If we don't stop it now, it will consume everything in its path, every planet, every star. It will leave nothing but darkness in its wake. Liara felt the weight of the decision crushing down on her. She had spent her entire life fighting for survival, for redemption. Now, faced with the destruction of the galaxy, she realized that her journey had led her to this moment. She could save countless lives, but the price would be her own. No, Cade said again, stepping in front of her. I won't let you do this, Liara. We'll find another way. But Liara gently placed a hand on his chest, her eyes filled with love and sorrow. Cade, we both knew this day would come. I've always known that my past would catch up to me. This is my chance to make things right. Cade's breath hitched, his heart breaking. Liara, don't, please. She kissed him softly, her lips lingering against his for just a moment. You've given me more than I ever thought possible, Cade. I love you. And I'm not leaving you, this is the only way we can be free. Before Cade could stop her, Liara turned to Valus. What do I have to do? Valus nodded solemnly. I will transfer the energy conduit to you. Once the Wraith is destabilized, we must destroy it with all the ship's remaining firepower. As Valus prepared the conduit, Cade's hands trembled. He knew Liara was right, but the thought of losing her felt unbearable. He had spent so long fighting alongside her, falling in love with her, and the idea of facing the future without her tore him apart. I'll never forget you, Cade whispered, his voice shaking. Liara smiled through her tears. I'll always be with you, Cade. In every star, in every moment. The energy conduit surged to life, and Liara stepped forward, her body glowing with a brilliant violet light. The Wraith's tendrils recoiled as the raw energy radiating from her form struck the creature, sending waves of disruption through its chaotic body. Liara's face twisted in pain as the energy pulsed through her, but she stood strong, her resolve unshaken. She poured every ounce of her strength into the conduit, her life force entwined with the ship's systems, creating a surge of pure energy aimed directly at the Wraith. The creature shrieked, its form flickering and destabilizing as the energy overwhelmed it. Cade and Valus worked frantically at the controls, targeting the Wraith with the Starseeker's weapons. With one final command, Cade fired the ship's entire arsenal at the Wraith, launching a barrage of missiles and plasma beams. The explosion that followed was blinding, filling the void of space with a brilliant white light. The Wraith's form shattered, its dark tendrils disintegrating into nothingness. The creature was finally destroyed. But as the light faded, Cade's heart shattered. Liara's body floated in the center of the room, her glowing form slowly dimming as the last of her energy ebbed away. He rushed to her, cradling her in his arms, tears streaming down his face. Liara, he whispered, his voice breaking. Please, please don't go. Her eyes fluttered open, her gaze soft and full of love. Cade, you have to let me go. I can't, he sobbed, holding her tighter. I can't do this without you. She smiled weakly. You'll never be without me. You have my heart, always. In the small village of Hargam, Raj lived with his mother, Maya. They survived by farming their small plot of land, but the drought had made life increasingly difficult. One day, while they were tending to the fields, Maya sighed, "Raj, you've been wandering like a lost sheep. It's high time you consider marriage. Do you like anyone?" "Mom, I'm too busy with the farm to think about such things," Raj replied, brushing off the topic. Days turned into weeks, and the drought deepened. One afternoon, Raj's aunt, Kavita, visited them. "Maya, why not find a nice girl for Raj? My neighbor's daughter in the nearby town is educated and charming. Why not send Raj to meet her?" Maya's eyes lit up. "Raj, this girl could be a good match for you. What do you say?" Reluctantly, Raj agreed to visit the girl, hoping to return quickly. After finishing his farm work, he set off toward the town, determined to see this girl. As he walked, Raj encountered a group of villagers gathered around a well. "What's going on?" he asked. "The water here is scarce, and we're trying to dig deeper. Tulsiram, the merchant, has taken control of all the water supply," one villager explained. "He charges exorbitant prices for water." Raj felt a surge of anger. This isn't right. Water should be free for all. Determined to help, Raj began digging alongside the villagers. They worked tirelessly, but the heat was unbearable, and the well seemed endless. Just when despair began to set in, an old man approached. "Dig 20 feet to the east. I can feel the water there," he said with conviction. Despite skepticism, the villagers agreed. They dug in. To their surprise, fresh water gushed forth. The villagers erupted in cheers, but Tulsiram's anger was palpable. "You will pay for this insolence," he shouted, shaking his fist at Raj. "I'll make sure you regret it." But Raj stood tall. "You've taken advantage of our misfortune long enough. We deserve access to water without your greed." The villagers rallied behind Raj, vowing to support him. They approached the king, explaining the situation and how Tulsiram had exploited their need for water. The king, moved by their plight, decreed that water should be accessible to all and punished Tulsiram for his selfishness. With the water crisis resolved, Raj returned to his village a hero. He met the girl from the town and discovered she shared his passion for agriculture and community. They quickly fell in love and decided to marry. The village prospered, and Raj and his wife became a symbol of unity and resilience. Together, they worked the fields, ensuring that no one in Hargam would ever go thirsty again. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more engaging tales.